Going live. We should be, ideally, live. Alrighty. Okay. We should be live. We should be good to go. Let me know if you guys can hear me, see me. It says here that I'm live, but I don't see anything in the playback. Give me a hot minute. Alright. Come on. Yellow. Let's go. Okay. Progress. Outstanding. Alrighty. So, we are live. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hope you guys are okay. Hope you guys are feeling a little bit better. I, for one, spent my weekend watching The Tiger King on Netflix, which, if you haven't started, what are you doing? Do yourselves a favor. Take a break from the walking dumpster fire that is this class and reality, and start that because I finished it last night. It's a wild ride. But anyway, I hope you guys had a good weekend. And let's start with the logistics as per usual. Yeah, Jamelia says she was watching Tiger King 2. It's crazy. Yo, that girl, that woman definitely killed her husband, right? I cannot be the only one that thinks that. Like, she is a cold-blooded killer. Anyway, let's go back to like serious stuff for a minute. I think it's somewhat relevant to talk about the extra credit. I had a weekend to think about it, and my feeling is that the extra credit should be a grand total of 4 movies. And those 4 movies are going to be 1917, The Death of Stalin, Eichmann in Jerusalem, and 4th movie TBD, but something end of Cold War era, so towards the last week of class. And I think the way we're going to gauge it is Zoom discussion sessions. Like, instead of doing discussion sections on Canvas, we would do discussion sections face to face, and then some sort of brief assignment the way we did with the books. I think that's sort of a good way to do it. I will accept suggestions for the 4th movie. I also think that's fair. My only concern is, of course, because especially 1917 just came out, it might be difficult to find online. You might have to go out and rent it. I'm never super comfortable with price barriers to entry for assignments, but I mean, it's an extra credit, so it's not super required, so I'm not as stringent about it. That's sort of where my head's at. I'm going to finalize that list tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, I think I'm going to have some sort of live office hours, either on Zoom or on YouTube. And it'll just be an hour of me shooting the shit with, doing something else, but with the chat open. And then if you guys want to ask me a question, you can just hop on and ask away on anything we've talked about. Lastly, a friendly reminder that we do not have class on Thursday. Thursday is movie day, so please spend that class session watching Max. Max is the 2nd movie we're watching for the class, or if you're in Section 04, one of the 2 classes wasn't able to watch Amistad because our computer down there was kind of shitty. But y'all know the drill. In order to help with the buffering, I don't know if you guys saw that, I pumped the video quality way down. So hopefully you guys can still make out the slides, and if not, just listen to me, and then when it gets uploaded to the channel normally, it should be okay. Covered everything, right? Yeah, okay, got everything. All right. let's just jump right into it. Let's just jump into it. Channeling my inner Philip DeFranco right there. All right, let's talk Weimar. Because if you remember in our last class, we said that World War I ends essentially because three of the sides, the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, the German Empire, essentially just decide to stop. They decide to stop playing. They all experience revolution at home by angry citizens that are dissatisfied with the war. We looked at the situation in Russia. We're not going to really look at the one in Turkey, but know that similar thing happened. But we are going to look at what happens in Germany, because in Germany, something rather odd starts to happen, which is that of all of the countries, you would not expect Germany to be the one experiencing revolution at home. And the Weimar Republic is sort of what comes out of this revolution. And what comes out of this revolution is, imagine in the Russian Revolution if October never happens and Kerensky is never removed from power. The Kaiser is removed, the king, the old-style way of doing things, is removed, and they're replaced with the sort of leftist-style republic, which is a little more to the left of Kerensky, but not like all the way Lenin. It's sort of like smack in the middle there. But because it's smack in the middle there, no one is quite happy with the way it is. So let's see here. As I said, Germany experiences this revolution at home. And the revolution at home brings an end to the war. It causes the war to end. The Kaiser is removed, and they replaced with a republic. Its constitution is signed in the German city of Weimar, and that's where the name the Weimar Republic comes from. The Weimar is the city like that's smack in the middle of Germany. More on that in a minute, because we're going to talk about Weimar a whole lot. It's the first truly German government. What do I mean by that? So Germany unifies similarly to the way Poland or Italy does after Napoleon, but it unifies more by invasion. Essentially, the Prussians that are this area of like northern Germany, Poland, like on the Baltic Sea where Denmark is, they just invade everyone and like englobe them all into one big German republic. And so the king of Germany, that government, is just the old Prussian government that had just conquered everyone. This is the first truly German government. And because of that, it has some unique characteristics that we're going to talk about. That said, this is also a very, very fragile government in the 1920s. And so we're going to have to deal with issues of economic malaise and corruption and political instability, which we will talk about in detail next week when we talk about Hitler's rise to power. And we talked about Junger. Is this seriously the time when you're going to play your bongo drums? Seriously? Seriously. You're going to play bongo drums right now. I hate my neighbors. I hate my neighbors so much. Just pure vitriolic hatred. Anyway, I hate my neighbors, but not as much as Junger hated peace. I hope you appreciated that segue, because a lot of the veterans, the younger types coming home from the war, they cannot deal with peacetime. Someone like Junger just cannot deal with the reality of coming home and not being in that environment. And because of that, they essentially join these paramilitary groups. I'm okay. I don't have it. Relax. You know, we're good. they form these violent paramilitary organizations, and think of it as like LARPing as soldiers, for lack of a better word, right? They live in these makeshift barracks. They go around and they parade like they're still in the army, but there is no army after the war. Instead, you have this sort of free companies. That's what Freikorps is, of these people that are just pretending to be soldiers. But also, more on them next week, because they have a role to play in all of this. Now, I think a question to discuss here that we should really sort of focus on. There are a couple of key questions here. Where is Germany? Like, what are Germany's borders? And this is shockingly not a clear-cut question, at least compared to our situation. Let me explain. America's borders are easy. America's borders are the Rio Grande to the south, a straight line with Canada to the north, and fish. All right? America's borders are simple. We have never had a question of, if you live here, are you an American or not? Or they're so few and far between. Like, there are some enclaves of the U.S. and Canada and vice versa. But there's never been, like, a serious question of, like, I don't know if I'm Polish or German. If I'm Canadian or American. Like, we have those lines set down. That is not the case for Germany. Germany is this, like, amorphous blob, and its borders change every 10 years. So it's really hard to really understand where your country is, where Germany is, where my country lies. Also important to ask is, what is German? What does it mean to be German? What is culturally German and what is not? And lastly, who is German? Who gets to be German? And it's important that you understand these questions, because today we're going to think of nationalism, this thing that we touched upon somewhat in detail when we talked about Napoleon. But we talked about nationalism as a tool there. Today we're going to think of nationalism as a question. What does it mean to be German? What does it mean to be an American? What is German? What is American? Like, nationalism is a question. It just happens to be a question about identity. So let's tackle the first one. Where is Germany? So these are all maps of Germany. The first one is Germany prior to unification. As you can see, it's split up into all of these little countries before unification. Here's Prussia, as I talked about before, and how it unifies. It basically eats up all of the other countries to form Germany. This is Germany after World War I. After World War I, a couple of things happen. The big one being, one of the things that causes World War II, is that Poland essentially splits Germany into two halves. You have East Germany prior to the Cold War, and then they call it East Prussia, but this is part of Germany. And then you have this Germany here, but this Germany here is also larger than Germany is today, right? This is what I mean when I say, where are Germany's borders? This is not a clear question. Here's Germany after World War II, split up amongst the victorious powers, and then finally in 1950, reformed West Germany and East Germany. And so what you see here is, it is really difficult to figure out where Germany is. So, like, if I live here, right? If I live in this area of the world that is currently part of Poland, am I German? I used to be German. Now I'm not German. Am I German? Do I feel German? Do I act German? Do I talk German? This is what I mean when I say nationalism is a question. And it's sort of difficult for Americans to wrap our heads around this, because our borders are easy. Our borders are simple. For Germany, this is not the case. Germany's borders are complicated. And because they are complicated, it means this leads to issues. What is German? Equally difficult question. So I did the very scientific thing here. And I pulled my colleagues one day in the staff office. Sort of, I said, okay, when you say German stereotypes, what comes to mind? What concepts and adjectives come to mind? And this is what came up. You had toughness, determination, loyalty, tradition, conservatism, aggression. Although I think that last one is more the language than anything else. Manliness, in quotes, and national pride. Now, you can agree and disagree on on these things, but broad strokes, where do all of these come from? Well, it comes a lot from who is German. Because I would posit that a lot of our cultural identity, a lot of our identity as Americans, comes from the wars that we fight. So, for example, the first major war America fights is against itself, right? It's the Civil War. That's the first, big war. Not just the War of 1812 or these itty bitty, spats over sailors. No, we're talking the first big war, the first ideas war. It's the Civil War, and who wins that war and the way that war is fought really, really, really imprinted itself on America's psyche. What it means to be American is profoundly impacted by who won the Civil War, right? Who is American? Who gets to be American? And what being an American means would be dramatically different had the Confederacy won the Civil War. Because war impacts national identity. It just does. Now, the first war that Germany, a united Germany, fights for the first time is World War I. Now, think about that. Think about how much of our identity is wrapped up in the Civil War. Now imagine pardon my French, the clusterfuck that was World War I, and imagine that your entire identity is based on that war. This is part of the problem. The war rhetoric, the happiness, the ecstatic the ecstatic feeling that people had at the declaration of war, that is what Germans base their entire national identity on. So, the war rhetoric defines Germanism, for the lack of a better word, what it means to be a German. We call this in Germany the spirit of 1914, but the concept remains. It defines Germany. It defines Germanism. To be German is to have your identity like this with World War I. So by that logic, by that definition, who isn't a German? Who isn't German? Well, all of these people. You aren't German if you oppose the war. So pacifists are not only unpatriotic, they're not German. They're not German the way you or I are German. They're not socialists aren't German the way you or I are German because they oppose the war. These degenerate artists are not German. Gabe Martinez says, burn the bongos. Yeah, it's annoying as hell. This boy plays the bongos at 2 in the morning sometimes. 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning. Anyway. Trying to stay calm. Be calm. Zen mode. We'll be fine. It's cabin fever. It's quarantine time. I also ran out of beer yesterday, so that also might be why I'm cranky. Anyway, artists aren't German. Bolsheviks aren't German. For all we know, they're working with the Russians. They're not German. Democrats, these people that stabbed the Kaiser in the back while we were fighting at war, they're not German. Liberals, capitalists, the people that were getting rich on our sacrifice, they're not German. Not only are they anti-national, anti-patriotic, all of these things, they are not German. At least not German the way you or I are German. They're not German. All of these people that form the backbone of what would become the Weimar Republic are viewed as not German. But here's the thing. Our entire national identity is wrapped up in the idea of the war. That Germany does not lose wars. Germany wins wars because Germany is the best. Germany is amazing. Germany is the empire that the world needs. So how did we lose? How did this happen? The Allied and Associate governments affirm and Germany accepts responsibility of Germany and her allies for causing all of the loss and damage which the Allied and associated governments and their nationals have been subjected as a consequence of the war imposed upon them by the aggression of Germany and her allies. This is the famous war guilt clause that Germany willingly signs at the Treaty of Versailles, completely ending the war, in which Germany takes full responsibility for the war. Now read between the lines. Number one, from what we saw about World War I, World War I is not exactly Germany's fault, right? Everyone wanted the war. Germany is just playing the scapegoat here. You know, Russia wanted the war. Austria arguably started the war. Germany was going in there being Austria's friend and helping out. But Germany is taking the responsibility. And secondly, this is written in legalese. Accepting responsibility means what exactly? Money. Germany has to pay reparations for the damage it caused, when in reality, this was a war, and they both caused damage to each other. So how do we lose the war? Here's something that is true. Not a single inch of German soil, not a single inch, is ever conquered by the Allies. One of the reasons why books like Storm of Steel and All Quiet on the Western Front are so surreal when the soldiers go home is because there is no war at home. The war is in France. So when the German soldiers go home, it's like nothing is happening, except all the kids are gone because all the kids are fighting. Right? There is no invasion. World War I does not end like World War II. Because in World War II, we make it to Berlin. We capture the flag. We firebomb Leipzig. There is no doubt that Germany loses World War II. World War I, doubt. Not clear. Not exactly obvious. So how did we lose the war? How did we, the brave German army, who doesn't, we don't lose wars, we are strong and tough and determined, and we do not lose, and yet somehow we lost. How did we lose? We were stabbed in the back, is how we lost. We lost because we were betrayed. By who? By the intellectuals and the fat cats and the pacifists that stayed home and laughed at the brave German soldiers as they were fighting. Stabbed in the back. We were betrayed. We didn't lose. Germans don't lose wars. Germany was betrayed. Germany was betrayed from within. That's why we lost the war. If you want to get a sense of who's drawing these cartoons, by the way, shout out to the people that saw the swastika on the helmet of the brave German soldier. More on that in a minute. If you're a younger type, right? If you read Storm of Steel and you understand that personality type, how do you wrap your head around losing the war unless it's this? You were stabbed in the back. Well, you were busy fighting. Germany experienced revolution at home, and the new government accepted peace. Any peace, no matter how how hard you fought for your homeland. And every sacrifice you made in this war means nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. Stabbed in the back. By who? All of the people that aren't German. Our anti-German new government. That's who stabbed us in the back. Stabbed in the back by these people. But do you know who else isn't German? Jews aren't German. Not German. And very, very, very quickly, this becomes this. Stabbed in the back. That's why we lost the war. And very, very, very quickly. Here's some other examples. This one here on the left is the only one that I could find of a communist, not a Jew, stabbing the brave German army in the back. The concept is the same. You know, outside agitators that stab the German army in the back. And the picture on the right is perhaps even clearer. Stabbed in the back. However, I want to make something clear. Everything that I just said, it should be obvious, but everything that I just said is bullshit. It's not true. Stab in the back myth, not stab in the back fact. It is a fiction. According to historian Roderick Stackelberg, who is one of the lead experts on this, the preponderance of this myth, he says many Germans were all too ready to believe the charge of the radical right that the humiliating end of the war was a consequence not of military defeat, but of civilian defeatism. And according to this view, a conspiracy, a cabal of Jews and socialists had undermined the morale of the home front and stabbed the courageous army in the back. Germany would have won if it had only stayed the course. And again, I have to reiterate this. This is crap. This is not true. Germany was losing. The reason why the new government signs the peace is because Germany had run out of men, had run out of supplies, had run out of ways to get the supplies to soldiers. It had suffered crushing defeats at Ypres twice, and it had spent so much trying to take Verdun, which is this bunker in the middle of the border area between France and Germany. Rather famous battle of World War One. Germany wins that battle, but it spent so many people, so much manpower trying to take this hill, essentially, that it's over. By the time 1918 rolls around, the war's done. The war's over. The Allies, England and France, and the United States at this point, win the war by the same way that the Union beat the Confederacy. They didn't need to win any major battles. They won a couple, but they could equip, they could maneuver faster in every single way than the Germans could. And that's all it takes to win a war. And remember what Napoleon says, an army runs on its stomach. You win the war through logistics. You win the war through getting people and supplies from point A to point B. And the Brits and the French were just better at it than the Germans. Especially because the Germans were, for most of the war, fighting a war on two fronts. Against the English and the French, and against the Russians. And because of that, they lost. But that's not the narrative. Remember, and this is something I will say again in different contexts, but it matters. It is a shockingly sort of out there statement for a history professor of all people to say. But when it comes to history, the truth doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter because people don't act on the truth. The truth doesn't inform human behavior. How people feel affects human behavior. And it didn't feel right to many Germans that this is what had happened, even though it's the truth. It feels right that instead the army, the Jungers of the world, were betrayed. And they just cannot let it go. And they come home and they're so, they're trying to figure out how this could have happened. This is essentially a way for them to square the circle of Germany doesn't lose wars, and Germany lost the war. How is this possible? Germany is betrayed. It's the only way that they find that can explain it. Now, what is the point of this class? Because this class is going to change gears quickly right now. Because, I talked a lot in this class about the Junger type, about the sort of person that we've looked at. Because this ideology appeals to a certain person. It appeals to a certain... I often say about Nazis that the ideology does not appeal to the powerful necessarily. Because if you want to understand fascism, really understand fascism, what you need to get is that fascism is a method for the powerless to feel powerful. Because feeling powerful is addictive. There's a reason why your high school bully behaved the way that he or she did. Because it made them feel powerful. And that's addictive. There's a reason why, it's a reason why tribalism exists and why we enjoy beating, feeling powerful is addictive. And if you feel powerless, fascism is an ideology that will appeal to you. It doesn't appeal to the rich. The rich don't need fascism. The rich are rich. The rich are already powerful. Why would they need a change in their economic system or in their social system? They already are well off. Fascism instead, like the hardcore, it appeals to people who are socially distanced. Not in the sense of COVID-19, but year-round. And in this moment in Germany, there is no group that is more disengaged from the society that is formed in Germany after the revolution that brings about the Weimar Republic than these veterans who come home angry and upset and traumatized, many of them suffering from PTSD, as we saw, mad as hell. They're mad and they cannot articulate why they are mad. All they know is that they are mad, that they are angry, that they are upset, and they need an out. They need a way to to externalize this anger. And the far right in Germany was all too willing to engage with that, was all too willing to use that anger for their own political purposes. And it's one of the great tragedies, really, because the Weimar Republic starts with all of the best intentions in the world, but it was doomed from the start. It was doomed from the start because you had a whole subset of Germans coming home angry at their government purely because it exists, because its existence means that the war is over. Because the war is over, we cannot we have lost the war. You have a lot of these people that not only want a return to the militarism, they cannot get, they can't start the next one soon enough. This is the sort of person that we think that these ideologies appeal to, because it makes them feel powerful. Junger likes to go to the front line not because he's a sadist. Junger likes to go to the front line because it makes him feel good, because it makes him feel powerful. He feels restless when he's home. He feels powerless when he's home. But he feels, to use his words, like a man on the front line, in those trenches. And for the new age, we need a new nationalism. A nationalism of machine men with machine hearts that is willing to go into war and embrace the ideologies that let them achieve that militarism as fast as possible. And I think it's important to recognize that the German far right is a lot more fascist at first, and it evolves into being a Nazi movement. The anti-Semitism is intrinsic to the idea, but the idea of anti-Semitism as a policy point doesn't happen until later. These people are yes, raging anti-Semites, but the idea of Nazism, but we understand Nazism, comes a little bit later. That comes with Hitler. These earlier Nazis, that Hitler is too young to really be a major voice in, are fascists. They're militarists. They believe that war is the hygiene of the world, and that in order for Germany to assert its true superiority over the rest, war needs to start again. And that is moderately terrifying. If you want an example of how the Nazis think, Nazis exist today. Nazis exist 20 minutes from here. One of my favorite shows ever is a show on Vice called Hate Thy Neighbor, which I believe the first episode is free, but that's the one you need to watch. Go watch it in your post Tiger King watching binge. Hate Thy Neighbor, in which Vice sends this guy to interview the American Nazi movement. But because it's Vice, who do they send? A black British Muslim comedian, because of course. But they're interviewing these Nazis in America, and the first thing you learn is that Nazis in America don't live in mansions; they live in trailer parks. And I don't say that for you to feel sympathy for Nazis. Far from it. But understand who this is appealing to, right? It's not appealing to the powerful. It's appealing to the powerless. People that want to feel powerful, but can't. Because they are socially distant. They are socially outcast. Just like those veterans coming back from World War I. And I need you to get this, because otherwise it's not going to make sense. One of the things I stress to my students a lot is that they should leave logical thinking at the door when we talk about fascism. Because this is not the ideology of reason and logic. For that, and the logic and the extremes of that sort of thinking, more on that when we talk about the communists and we talk about Stalin. But fascism is the politics of emotion. An old professor of mine used to call it the politics of the gut. I know that it's true, but I can't prove it. I feel it in my gut. I know that it is true that we were betrayed. I know that it is true that we were betrayed by a cabal of Jews and socialists. I don't know it. I feel it. And my feelings are validated through this political ideology. Now there's a lot of quotes that I said with this that I do not, A, subscribe to at all, and B, could be taken out of context very, very, very easily. But again, it's important that you get that you understand who the ideology of fascism appeals to. Because if you don't, you're not going to understand how Hitler is able to be democratically elected, because Hitler is democratically elected. You're not going to be able to understand how Mussolini leads a march on Rome, couple of tens of thousands strong. You're not going to get this. You have to understand what fascism is. Fascism is, non. How can I put this? Fascism does not. It puts itself as an alternative to both democracy and socialism, but also like incorporating elements of both as needed, because this is not about ideological consistency. This is not about logic. It is about feeling. Fascism is a feeling, for lack of a better word. And it appeals to that sort of person. This irrational, illogical. Let me give you an example. Let me paint you a picture of America circa 2007. Let's say you live in West Virginia, and the coal mine closed, and you lost your job, and you lost your house, and the wife left, and took the kids too. Now here you are, stocking shelves at Walmart, and you have people online telling you you're privileged because you're white. Yeah, you don't feel privileged. And again, I'm not saying that this person is right. What I'm saying is that the truth is irrelevant. What this person feels is going to determine his behavior. And in your mind, what's more obvious? What is more, apparent? That this person is going to say, oh, well, fracking has made coal mining so unprofitable that it's just not worth it to pull out of the ground, and that, I don't know, maybe I should go back to school and learn something else or move? Or that Obama and the liberals and the EPA invented a climate change hoax by the Chinese and took my job? Again, this is not about the truth. This is about squaring the circle so that I can feel better. You understand? And this is just like that. A conspiracy theory, because that's what this is. It's a conspiracy theory. The stab in the back myth is a conspiracy theory. Is just drawing. How can I put this? Humans have an innate capacity to look for patterns. It is what allows us to, look at a cloud and say, oh, that cloud looks like a sheep, and that one looks like William Shakespeare's head. Pattern detection is a really good survival tactic. That's why we have it. Back when we were cavemen, it was like, oh, this pattern means this fruit poisonous and this fruit good for eating. Today, brain is a complex machine, but a conspiracy theory is just finding a pattern and connecting disparate bits of information that shouldn't be connected and shouldn't be have no right to be connected, and therefore comes a conspiracy theory. So one of my favorite ones, for example, was circa 2016. I don't know if you guys remember this. If you were in the Bernie Sanders dank meme stash, maybe you'll recall this. So Hillary Clinton has some unfortunate wrinkles, like right here and right here. And I'm sure you remember this, that the conspiracy theory was that Hillary Clinton had been replaced with a lizard person. And for the longest time, this was going around. Of course, it was insane. It was crazy. And we laugh at it because it's ridiculous. But there are some people for whom this was not ridiculous. Right? That this helped them square their circle of the world. There are people that still believe that what's-his-face is running Pizzagate, that guy is running a smuggling ring inside the basement of a Washington, D.C. pizzeria. It's insane. It's crazy, right? But this is not about logic. Remember what I said. It is not the politics of logic. It is the politics of emotion. couple years saying that you guys got notifications late, and I see that Drayton is flirting. Get our number and like do that not in the chat. Just throwing that out there. Just don't. Not the place. Anyway, yes, Pizzagate is ridiculous. Thank you. But the point is that like you think Pizzagate is ridiculous, but there is functionally no difference between the stab in the back myth and Pizzagate. And the fact is, these people believed these things for the same reasons. This is my point, right? Is that the impetus is to is to make people, historically speaking, don't change all that much. Like the reality of human interaction, human motivation, the basics haven't really changed over millennia. It's I want to eat today. I want a roof over my head. I want employment that makes me feel fulfilled. That's been true for all of human history. These motivations haven't changed. What has changed are the circumstances around human behavior. What has changed is, the circumstances that people find themselves in. And so because those things don't change, equally, our conspiracy theories haven't changed. Anyway. I think we're going to call it a day here. I think that's, we talked quite a bit. I don't think I have anything else. Again, just for a couple of late stragglers, let me reiterate the beginning of class stuff. So, number one, tomorrow I may be having office hours. Probably 6 p.m. again. And that's either going to be on Zoom or on YouTube. I'll send the link out whenever I'm free, and I'm just going to be here, doing something else, and you can hop in and ask something in the chat, or hop in on a Zoom call and say, hey, here's my question, and I will answer it as best I can. That's number one. Number two, no lecture on Thursday. Thursday is movie day. We're watching Max. Again, refer to both the syllabus and the announcement. There's a link there to find Max, to purchase Max, to rent Max. The link has links to all sorts of different services, so you can just pick the one you want. You want to use Prime, use Prime. You want to use Google Play, use Google Play, Apple, etc., etc. My only recommendation is save your money. If this is not a movie you intend to keep, then just rent it. If it's a movie that you like, buy it. Can I make a Zoom call and screen share it? Like on YouTube? I could probably download the video for the... Ooh, you know what I could do? I could make the Zoom call and then use the same software I'm using here to like stream the Zoom call. I've been hesitant to do that because when you guys signed up to do this class, you guys did not sign up to have your faces put on YouTube. And so like I'm not just going to do that, but I also want people to feel comfortable joining office hours. And like, not people should have a right to come into office hours without feeling like I'm going to put their face on the internet. That's not what I'm here to do. So, it depends. If there's buy-in, I'll do it. If there's not, don't have to. Thirdly, what else did I mention? The extra credit. Okay, so the extra credit is going to be 4 movies. I am finalizing that list tonight, and that assignment should be completed by tomorrow. It is going to be an additional 4 movies to the 2 that we're watching in this class. I've picked 3 of those. I still need a 4th one, but that's going to be towards like the latter side of the class, so I have time to pick that. For now, those movies will be 1917, The Death of Stalin, The Eichmann Show, and I need a fourth movie. And what we're going to do for those is we're going to put them on Zoom. We're going to have like not the movie itself, that would probably get me in trouble, but like we're going to have a discussion on Zoom, and I'll take attendance for those. And then there'll be like some sort of brief assignment at the end having to do with the movies, like some sort of like, here's something that I liked about all of these movies, or like here's the movie that I liked the most, and here's why. I'll figure it out. Something silly. The extra credit will be worth an extra 10 points, I'm feeling. So, like, enough for you guys to care is where I'm getting with that. So, I think that's really it. Again, no class Thursday. I will see you guys next week. Stay safe. Stay inside. Wash your damn hands. And, yeah, talk to you later. Toodles. Yes.